First, allocating time. Nothing is more precious than time, writes the author of The Cloud of Unknowing. So, time is something specially valuable to be offered to God in testimony of our love. Time given to God is time withdrawn from other activities. This means that if I am an achiever, I will achieve less. If I am self-indulgent, I will be less gratified. If I'm a flaming extrovert, I will have to learn a measure of solitude. Time given to God is time not available for self. Time is a major issue, both in theory and in practice. In order to pray from the heart, I need to leave work aside and give myself fully to this something else that seems like nothing at all: prayer. Instead of making headway with projects, I cease production. Overall, my contribution to work is lessened because I withdraw some time and energy from work and offer them to God. There are times in everyone's life when prayer is spontaneous, such as when affliction or anguish sets in. On such occasions, prayer looks after itself. In a sense, prayer simply happens. At other times, there may be an inward attraction to prayer and nothing more. Fidelity to daily prayer is not a given. We must schedule it for ourselves. It is good to pray when we feel inspired to, but it is the regular practice of prayer that takes us into the depths. As in many other matters, getting started is difficult. Although unexciting, regularity is important if we are to develop sensitivity to things of the Spirit. John Chapman puts this well, quote, "The only way to pray is to pray, and the way to pray well is to pray much. If one has no time for this, then one must at least pray regularly, but the less one prays, the worse it goes." End quote. Our willingness to pray is confirmed if we persevere in prayer, but beginning and persevering are still difficult. Whether we pray or not depends largely on willingness to organize our lives. It is love for God that inspires our organizing zeal, just as it is often indifference or laziness that resists it. Time is precious, and so many things clamor for our attention that we will not get around to prayer unless we arrange a vacant space in which we do nothing else. Prayer is not just dialogue. It is the first state of surrender. So the desire to pray needs to be supported at a practical level. There are too many urgencies, imagined and actual, that can lead us to defer prayer. I can't sympathize with those who say it is not possible to do much about prayer because daily events are much too unpredictable. But I wonder if we are being completely honest with ourselves. What may be lacking is not the opportunity to pray, but the desire and will to pray. And that poses different problems. A routine of prayer has to be flexible if it is not to crack under the strain of reality. Structure does not have to be experienced as imposition. It can be liberating. It can enable us to insert into our life something we want included, without having to go decision-making on each occasion. We operate on automatic pilot, as it were. I imagine half the joggers on the New England beaches needed no deliberate choice to get out of bed and to start running. They made the choice some time ago to include jogging as part of their day. They may occasionally grumble, but overall, they do not judge the value of jogging by missing a single day. It is the cumulative effect over months that matters, just like prayer. Prayer is prayer no matter how limited in scope. It is a wedge that will in time open our heart wider to the divine reality. Its narrow edge allows it to penetrate more easily. Getting started, of course, is always a problem, especially if we have allowed prayer to lapse. We who fritter away hours without regret find it hard to drag ourselves away for a few moments of prayer. Better to start with a little and upgrade ever so slowly than to begin boldly and find it impossible to maintain our pace. One aspect not yet mentioned is duration. For what length of time should we pray? If we're getting back to a fresh start in prayer, we might consider 20 minutes or so. This corresponds roughly to our attention span. The life of prayer is more a marathon than a sprint.